Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, November 19, 2023, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We have endless paths to enlightenment. We talk about enlightenment because that's the evolution of this civilization. Enlightenment. And there's many paths to enlightenment. And 1 million plus doors we can walk through to experience this moment as divine. One of these precious doors is not so easy or obvious to see, yet we unconsciously step through it every single day. It is the perpetual swinging door of judgment. We're so often unaware whenever we are passing judgment and obvious of how it is a secret passageway to the most enlightened and heavenly state of being. No matter if we are conscious human beings or not, the mind is constantly judging ourselves. You ever feel that? You ever feel yourself constantly judging yourself? Different ways? Comments that you make to yourself? Now, the mind is constantly judging ourselves, other people, this world, and anything that it can get a hold of. The mind was born with the master-like judgeaholic power. It can judge anything in milliseconds. Now, we may not have realized this yet. Probably in the last 15 minutes, our mind has passed at least 10 judgments on ourselves, someone else, or something in this world around us as either good or bad. The judgmental mind is perpetually busy working away at labeling this life. And this workaholic is a slippery gremlin to catch. We are so accustomed to the mind judging everything in this life. It's as if we've been soaking our hands in warm water for 25 years and we don't realize that it's completely wrinkled and about to fall off. So, to clarify exactly what judgment is, there's many versions, is the mind labeling something in this life as either good or bad, but not both. It is a one-sided viewpoint of existence, which separates and divides, interestingly. Judgment manifests only when we are living up in the head and are disconnected from our heart. When we are living from the heart, the mind cannot judge. This occurs because the heart is free from duality, and the mind can only exist in duality. Seeing black and white, the heart cannot get hooked in whatever the mind believes is only good or only bad. When the heart is leading the way, we are free from the perpetual prison of the judging mind. Only when the heart leads the way. If we are to be free from judgment, we must drop all out of the head and into the heart. The mind will quiet and become very still. From this space, we can watch our mind closely and see just how slippery its judgmental habit is. we can see how it tends to avoid what it deems as scary. The mind often believes that if I get what I want, this is good, then I will be happy. And if I get what I don't want, this is bad, and then I will be unhappy. The more enlightened path, however, is understanding that in this great, divine, supreme, all-intelligent universe, we are going to get it all. We always, always, always get what we want and what we don't want. For example, you might end up with a lot of money. Let's say you end up with a lot of money, more than you could ever have imagined in several lifetimes. You say you have all this money. But yet, on the flip side, once you have the money, then you're going, wow, what am I going to do? How am I going to have it managed? And how am I going to protect it? And who can I trust to do that? And how do I live my life now? The more enlightened path, however, is understanding that in this great, divine, supreme, all-intelligent universe, we be very careful to master the mind. That's one of our great challenges, mastering the mind. It can go on and on and on. This is why we generate over 60,000 plus thoughts per day. And this is what we call the mind chatter. And it's like, it's incessant, it's nonstop. You ever notice that? We get used to it because it's always on, and it's never turned off. But we get used to it, so we just don't pick much up on it. But you ever said to yourself, I want to go someplace where there's no noise, total quiet, total peace, and all I can hear is the wind through the trees. That's it. And I can focus on the now, right in the moment that I am in. This is absolutely magical. It really is. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to do that if you're being drawn this way, that way, this way, this way, this way, that way, this way, that way. You're not going to be able to do that. You're distracted, and the mind has you, and its buddy, the ego, right there too. How many people, just in this country alone, are trying to escape? And I don't mean run away, but trying to figure out a way to slow down, slow their lives down, and not have to be in such a hurry all the time. Because rushing through this life damages the soul. Rushing. And can you imagine at any time that you have felt yourself hurried, how you feel? It's icky. It isn't a good feeling. Blood pressure goes up. Stress levels go up. The stress on the body. And, you're rushing, hurrying, trying to get things taken care of. And then, like if you're late or something, you're running late, you've been in that situation, you got to get there and you go, oh, God, you look at your watch and say, oh, I was late. And so then you just start burning it, rushing everywhere to get everything taken care of. And then when you get there, you sit down and you get in your car and you're driving off, and you take a deep sigh, and you're looking at the clock. And you know how many accidents happen during those times? A lot, where we're distracted. We know that, and it's to know this, but not superficially. A lot of us say we'll know it, but it's superficial. It's still ego mind. And asking ourselves, what does it mean? What does it mean to me? Have you ever felt like you were being led and you felt like you were attached to something that keeps pulling you. Yanking, like you're on a chain or a rope, and it keeps yanking you forward, yanking you, or over to the left or over to the right. And then you try to pull away, and it just keeps pulling at you. That's the ego mind. So how do we leave the mind alone? How do we leave the mind alone? Because remember, the mind is not the brain. Okay? The brain is in this body and this head. It's the computer of this body. The mind is an illusion. Okay? And it is in charge. And it lets you know whenever it wants to let you know that it is in charge, that it runs the complete show. You follow its lead, its orders, its direction. What causes conflict? Okay. Now, if you would ask somebody that, and you ask them, what do you believe causes conflict? Oh, well, someone gets angry or upset, and then the other person responds, and next thing you know, there's a conflict. The conflict in conversation. You've probably been through it where you get an argument. Right? What's the argument? What is its basic roots? Why do we argue? Why do we get upset? It's ego, mind. That's why we get upset. What? And worry, stress, and fear about what? Everything. Everything. We worry, stress, and fear about everything. You think about this. We worry. Why do we do that? Because and to understand this is a huge step forward on this journey. Because we do it because the ego mind runs the show. And we don't know it runs the show. See? We don't know it runs the show. We just think that, hey, that's the way it is. The way life is. Now, that's the matrix, that's the society of being in it and not knowing that you are not of it. So you believe that you're in it and you're of it. But what's the difference for one who has mastered the mind and ego? There's no retaliation because there's no interest in any of it. There's no reason to prove, defend, attack, disprove, right, wrong, any of it. It's not there. Now, if you take a person who has mastered the mind, and you take a person who is heavily steeped in ego mind, okay? You have heart mind, ego mind. Ego mind gets upset at things when the heart mind is kind of just nonchalant, not interested in engaging, not interested in caustic, abrasive type of conversation or interaction. It's just not there. It's like something that you, for example, it's like something that you just don't like to eat, right? You just say, I just don't like it, I'm not going to eat it. It's kind of like that. And no matter what anybody tries to do to convince you to eat it, you've had it, you just don't like it. So you don't eat it. And it's the same with the being master of the mind and having the ego be master of you, the ego mind. So we're not interested. Can you see how this lifts the civilization of this planet? How it, more and more of us begin to on our own, in our own way, decide to go there, to go that way. And just out of childlike curiosity, I'd like to find out just what this is about of mastering the mind, and understanding what the ego mind is for. Why is it there? And how it operates. So as more and more of us choose to do this, not temporarily, so it's not like a whim, or, I'll give it a shot, see what happens. You do it. If you don't try, we've found out through the years, trying is really lame. You do it, period. And then someone says, the ego mind says, well, what if you fail? There's no such thing as failing, right? But there is experience. So you experience things. Okay? You experience things. You don't fail. It's like you fail, you win, you lose, all that stuff's ego mind. And in order for us to ascend, and we choose to ascend into fifth dimension, it's a frequency. It is an atmosphere. It is with us, within us, around us, above us, and below us. Frequency. And that frequency is generated by what? Us. We do it. We decide that we're no longer going to live in material, physical world with the ego mind. Bottom line. We know that we can enjoy the physical, material world whenever we decide to. Right? We also know that when we go into the ego mind, we are not going to manifest what we want. It would be frustrating, disappointing, letdowns. We've all had those. So we know that it doesn't really work in the ego mind. You say, well, I'm going to try the heart mind. I'm going to find out everything I can about the heart mind and what is within this body. Yeah, I want to know what's in this body. I kind of get the idea that, and the understanding that I know I'm not this body, but this body is a vehicle for me to experience material physical life, right? And I know that if any of us, when we're out of the body, and we're all just kind of congregating, and we don't touch, we don't smell, we don't taste, we don't laugh, we don't cry, we don't do any of that. Now, why do you think the human body is so valuable to us gods? It affords us the experience of all the emotions, all of them. And that's unique for us. It's not like you could just, walk down the street and there's several shops that you can just go into and pick what you want. Well, when we do get a body, it's magna glorious, because now we can start experiencing all kinds of things. When you're little child, do you know that stove is hot? Do you even know what hot is? No, we don't know. We have no clue. So the programming that we get from mom, dad, brothers, sisters, is that your mother says no, don't touch that. That's hot. You'll burn yourself. Do we know what that means? Do we know what burning ourselves in hot means? No, because we've never experienced it. So when mama says that, or dad says that, you're still going to do it because you're curious. So once you burn yourself, in most cases, then you're not going, because you're always curious. Why is she telling me not to put my hand on there? Okay. I understand that. What does burning mean anyway? So this is why a lot of us, when we're children, will touch a hot surface and burn ourselves. And then we know, I'm not going to touch a hot surface. Okay. Now, if mother or father would take your hand and just lay it Here, I want to show you something. You see that? That means hot. And the closer you get to it, it will burn your skin, which is very painful. So you don't care to put your hand on it, anything hot. And all you got to do is hold your hand just enough above it so you can feel heat. So it's kind of like you got to think before you speak. Oftentimes, you want to say something, right? We've all been in this position or situation. You want to say something. You're thinking it. But something says to you, no, I'm not going to say that. Now, of course, the longer we're in these bodies and the more life experience we have, in most cases, we learn that some things you just keep to yourself. You don't think them, but don't say them. And this is part of mastering the ego mind. Because you get that feeling that tugs at you. It says, oh, yeah, say it, right? Now, you know that this, whatever it is that you're thinking to say would upset people around. You know that. So oftentimes, we don't say what we feel. We think it, but we don't say it. It's like you go to a restaurant. You're with a group of people, or you're with a loved one, whatever, and you order the entree. And and you start saying, yeah, the service sucks, the food's cold, and then the other person says, oh, don't say anything, don't say anything. Right? And then you say, you know what, though? I wouldn't care to have other people experience what I'm experiencing right now, so I'm going to voice my opinion in a respectful way. See, the wait server says, how's everything going? Well, to be honest with you, this food is cold, and the service is not good. So your wait staff person is coming up there, and you're saying this because you want to make sure. Now, is that it's a lesson in teaching them respectfully that, hey, you got to improve this for us to continue to come here. Got to improve it. You want every experience to be phenomenal. Now, it can go in either direction. You could have a really bad, phenomenal experience or a very good experience or kind of a so-so. Now, when we're within and we're, moving to connect with the God that we are, the pure consciousness, we're not really interested in all that stuff because it's all ego mind, every single bit of it. And, we develop ego minds how? By what we're told, how we're programmed. I mean, that's pretty much it. How many people do you believe are, in this very moment, you decided to go within, are focusing on their breath, are sitting in a very comfortable position with no interruption, even if they have to wear blindfolds and earplugs? And they're focused on their breath and they're in the now. How many people right now in this country do you believe are in the now? And be totally honest with yourself. Through the heart mind, how many people? And it's going to tell you why. It will definitely present to you why everything is the way it is right in this very now moment on this planet. Now, the more often that we choose to practice seeing, feeling into, and accepting how we always get what we want and what we don't want in this life, the judgmental mind just drops on its own accord. We naturally start living every day in deep harmony with existence. we become vulnerable to existence again. And in this sweet humility, we can feel the great perfection of this life. We deeply accept that this existence is the expression of the highest intelligence, and that the good and bad judgment plan is the smartest plan available from God to create a spiritual awakening experience inside every being on this earth. Now, I'll challenge anybody to see if they can find a single situation, person or thing of this world that is only 100% positive and does not also have the tiniest hidden negative byproduct within it. Now, if you think you found something like a new flower budding on an amazing sunset, just wait and investigate a bit longer, as both sides will eventually show. Yeah, there's the old saying, there is always another side to the coin. As the flower one day wither away, the amazing sunset colors always fade into the darkness. We always get both. The rose always comes with a few thorns, even if they are little tiny thorns. Now, when we can actually free ourselves from the judgment habit, because you could be looking at somebody and you can feel you wanting to judge them, talk about how they look, the surface and everything, what they wear and all that stuff, right? So what do? How do you do it? Well, you start looking deeper into yourself and accept any judgments you may have. You can say, I'm not too fat, too short, too ugly, too poor, too dumb, too smart, too much in my head. Welcome all the judgments you may have about yourself. And just don't reject, avoid, or judge them. See them for what they are. They are one-sided judgments that you have about you. When you can truly see and welcome the judgment, it will have less energy and magnetic pull on you. In a matter of minutes, the contracting hard feeling around the judgmental thought will lessen. Drop into stillness. You will become truly free from it. Now, as far as this welcoming process works, the secret is moving totally into the experience of judging. The secret is moving totally into the experience of judging. When we consciously are feeling only one side of the judgment, awareness grows in us. We cannot fall into that old judgment again so easily next time. We can see just how it impacts our mind, emotions, and heart when we remain in one solid experience of this life deeply and fully for a long time. Something inside us will soon tire, get bored, and then the judgment pendulum just swings to the other side. For example, any of us may feel and say that we're never good enough, cannot do anything right. And after welcoming that judgment and feeling for 5 to 10 or even 20 minutes, something in us will exhaust itself, release the contraction, and wake up. the smaller, more enlightened aspect inside us will sneak in and perceive that on some level we are doing everything right and we are totally good enough. When we welcome judgment, the judgment pendulum soon swings. And this allows us to know what perfect peace feels like. Now, some people, they may think that always welcoming and acknowledging both the good and bad in this life is just some boring, fatalistic, nihilistic, uncreative path that only leads to a state of apathy. Actually, it's quite the contrary, is true. By learning to accept and welcome it all, we find that we are truly okay with everything that is and feel a more spacious quality within ourselves. We feel we have more time to develop our ability to expand consciousness and relax into our lives. From this expanded space, we dramatically increase our manifesting vibration, deepen our state of inner peace, and become a magnet for the most amazing life situations to occur. Now, you will find that the welcoming process is extremely powerful, simply because it leaves nothing out. It comes from a deep spiritual place inside us that is saying yes to the totality of our experience and existence. We are just not interested in fighting, proving anything, or resisting life anymore. Instead, we move and feel totally fluid like water without resistance, force, or control. In this state, it's so easy to realize that God is everywhere and in everything. It is this deep welcoming mind that creates an enlightened mindset, where we actually feel, see, and understand the divine perfection of this life. We become more interesting people as we stop wasting our energy trying to negate others, ourselves, or continuously be upset with the way this life is. In a mind that is free from all judgment of ourselves and others, we naturally appreciate it all. We can see that the glass is half empty and half full at the same time. We can feel this infinite empty universe all around us, and also sense how the sun is always rising somewhere on the planet, sharing and radiating its brilliant light. Living in the enlightened mindset is like floating in a sea of orgasm, waves of deep cosmic opening to joy. Happiness, appreciation, and ecstasy can actually waft through our body at any time when the mind is not occupied with judgment. We have more energy to make more love, to explore our spiritual nature, taste the freedom that exists at the core of our being. When we can live daily in the enlightened mindset, everything inside us changes. All the previous pain we've been carrying seem to have mysteriously disappeared. We can naturally and fully relax into our divine balanced nature. Now, you may find what is the most interesting aspect of all is that this judgment-free, enlightened mind is our most natural state of being. It is already inside us and exists at the core of who we are, at the seed of our consciousness itself. We can only experience it directly, however, when we have respect and reverence for the perfect balance that exists in everything. When we acknowledge the divine balance within every situation, every person, coincidence, accident, belief, memory, and atom and quantum particle throughout this universe, we can open up to it. The more acceptance we have that there's always good in the bad and bad in the good. Something deeper inside us lets go. And we can finally relax into our deepest spiritual experience of this life. When the mind calls off the search for defining and redefining what's good and bad, we have an infinite reservoir of creative energy to surrender fully to our soul. Now, this enlightened life that we're all heading to is not just about cultivating a deeper relationship with our mind, it's about getting beyond the mind. When we master our mind, and we will, we no longer live in fear. When the mind falls from its altar, we rise to the summit. And when we learn how to drop into a perpetual state of surrender, allowing the greater intelligence of this universe to run the entire show, we see how every precious moment in this life has this bigger universal force behind it all. Seeing this, the mind totally gives up, and we realize that we have become the perfection that exists within everything. With enough awareness, we can totally stop the judgmental. With enough awareness, we can totally stop the judgmental mind habit and wake up from the addiction, because it is an addiction for us. Then we'll know what real freedom is like. And nothing else will satisfy more than this freedom. This true freedom is the free form of all forms of pain. Is free from all forms of pain. It is the greatest experience of this life, hands down. This means the mind can slip back into clinging to delusion and desire. And you don't. The mind does, and you don't. The mind might crave, whine, and yearn to be free. Yet, you know that you are the one behind it, who is actually already free. You see, you remain the watcher, deeply detached and liberated from the mind's antics. It's the greatest, deep, eternal love of all when you realize that you are not your mind. This is crucial for us as a civilization, that you are not your mind. You watch it, you see all the things it does, right? You can laugh. But it's not you. You're the God. You're divine perfection. You're watching, right? The more that we choose to practice welcoming judgments the easier it becomes to see the mind and how to be free from it. When we can always see the good, the bad, and the balance meeting of the two, then the struggle of this life doesn't matter so much anymore. The mind soon gets trained to only see balance and perfection. It automatically observes how the good is in the bad and the bad is in the good, and how these two worlds always collide, and there is nothing left but freedom. There is just the pure observer watching and witnessing it all. Rely on, as one Buddhist teaching, rely on the essence of your pure wisdom mind, not on judgmental perception. Rely on the spirit and the meaning of the teachings, not on the words. The enlightened, judgment-free mind is always available to us and shows up when we release the need to be right and instead create more room to be happy. Happiness through inner peace becomes the goal instead of striving and focusing on surviving this life, which most of us do. When inner peace as the priority, with inner peace as the priority, the dualistic mind soon becomes free from attachment, desire, resistance, and contraction. We surrender to the heart and can actually feel deeply okay with whatever manifests and does not manifest in our lives. If you, let's say that you, in the now, send a thought, a request to the universe. While you're in the now, focus on your breath. And it doesn't happen, right? And you kind of think for a minute and go, well, the universe is in charge. The universe is in charge of it, and I've surrendered it, let it go. And then, lo and behold, this phenomenal event happens for you. And you kind of you say, this seems really familiar. This is what I had asked the universe for, but this is way beyond that. This is phenomenal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that happens a lot. The universe knows us better than we do, by far. And so it says, well, you asked for this, I'm going to give you this. The things that happen in our lives out of the clear blue is when we have literally surrendered them and we aren't fixated on them. And we don't have attachments to them. We just put it out there and that's it. Aren't those the things that do come in? And usually surprise you. And people say, well, that's just too hard. That's just too difficult. They say they can't do that. It isn't hard to achieve enlightened mindset. It just takes the most deeply rooted devotion to ourselves. The most deeply rooted devotion to ourselves. You must choose to be willing to know yourself intimately and never stray from exploring further about who and what we are. join in the meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. Easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Choose to really be alive today. The only thing that's stopping you from being ridiculously alive is fear. And fear, my friend, is just excitement in disguise. So welcome your fears with a soft, receptive mind and an open heart. See the deeply mysterious and empowering gift that they are offering to your life. This is how each moment of your day can become an absolute joyride. Just decide that you are going to have a ridiculously fun and awesome day today, no matter what you think is already on your agenda. Put on your favorite tune. Let the movement inside you play. Deeper inside, you always have the courage to be fearless, kind, and loving in everything that you say and do. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, the following morning. We will return here Monday, November 20, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, humble at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest deepest, purest of the purest purest. Eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on within you or outside of you.